So without further ado, Supervisor John Green.
Thank you, Mitch. And yes, thank you for the opportunity. Just very briefly to address what you were talking about with the district thing is for a long time, Johnson County, for all time, Johnson County, all five supervisors have been elected at large. The legislature determined that perhaps they could screw with things by coming in and forcing us into districts, which they have done. And so not only am V. Fixmer Rise, my fellow supervisor, and I, whose terms should be expiring at the end of this year, up for election. Our three colleagues all have to run for election too. I don't even know that you can properly call it re-election because at present we all represent the entirety of Johnson County. Under this new regime, we would only be representing 1/5 of the county, which is already troubling. I'm already seeing the dynamics of parochialism, how that's bleeding into things where it's like, it's not for the good of Johnson County, it's for the good of my little portion of Johnson County, which I just think is terribly unfortunate. We're going to get through it though, and we're going to continue to be successful. In June, all have been on the board for 5 years. I first got elected in a special election in 2021 after a county convention. Uh, and it's just been a tremendously challenging but tremendously successful 5 years, I think. We spent a good portion of our American Rescue Plan Act money to send cash benefits to mostly undocumented persons. We were able to structure that program through my leadership, through reaching out both to the Federal Department of Treasury and to State Auditor Rob Sand to determine that we could structure this program in such a way that we didn't have to ask recipients immigration or citizenship status. And we made sure that we didn't collect that data because we wanted the excluded important, what, 5 years ago, what we were calling essential workers to receive the same, or at least a share of the same benefits that so many of us enjoyed through the darkest days of that pandemic. I have been very busy on environmental work. I suspect you folks have seen that the Iowa Water Quality Monitoring Network is defunded, and they are going hat in hand to cities and counties asking for funding to ensure that the lights stay on. I've been working on this for 3 years. Johnson County is going to provide a third of their necessary funding for the next year. But I'm also working on building a coalition with cities, counties, the Des Moines Water Works, other organizations around the state that have an interest in water quality to ensure that we can develop a sustainable funding model for this network until the legislature pulls its head out of its backside. I'm very proud about that. Uh, I think we have just had tremendous success here. We had our annual tax asking public hearing last night. I believe Johnson County is the only jurisdiction in the county that is bringing a real dollars year over year property tax decrease to our residents because we run a tight ship here and we took a close look at everything, but we have not laid anybody off. We've actually managed to add a couple of positions because we are responsible stewards of our taxpayers' dollars while recognizing all of the important initiatives and investments, whether it's clean water, whether it's affordable housing, that our residents demand of us. And so I hope that I can continue that work for the next 2 years because of the districting bill. I don't get to run for a 4-year term. I'm only running for a 2-year term. And if I'm successful in 2028, I would be seeking a 4-year term. Uh, I know that this is sometimes common in other counties, but it's unprecedented here. I have been elected to serve as the chairperson of the Board of Supervisors 2 years in a row. I think that that is a recognition from my colleagues that I have the leadership chops, the disposition, and the knowledge to steer us through this unprecedented time. And the whole districting thing sucks. I hate it, and it introduces a bunch of friction that shouldn't be here. But we are going to navigate these challenges because Johnson County, frankly, is used to navigating a lot of roadblocks that the legislature loves to throw in front of us. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you folks tonight, and I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Green. So we're going to give the floor now to John, to Patrick, our chair of our election endorsement committee. So the floor is yours, Patrick.
Thank you, Mitch, and thank you, John, for joining us this evening. So as you know, part of the vetting process for the endorsement is that we gave you a questionnaire, an alignment questionnaire. You completed it, sent it back to us. Our committee reviewed it, and we have two questions, follow-up questions on that we'd like to ask you. So the first one was question number 5, and it asked if you believe there's a lack of affordable housing in your community. It sounds like you do. And you said as much. So when you addressed urban issues, you mentioned that student housing is displacing other housing, driving up costs for everybody, and quote, shitty landlords and management firms, unquote, requiring stellar credit and rental history, exacerbating the problem. So now please give us your thoughts on what can be done about those shitty landlords and management firms to encourage them to be better.
Thanks, Patrick. We have to find creative ways to come up with incentives. And unfortunately, it usually has to be incentives because the legislature has restricted our ability to come up with sticks. And so we're left with carrots. I think we've done a good job with that. We are working on a package of, so the county, we have borrowing capacity equivalent to 10% of the taxable value of all real property throughout Johnson County, where each municipality only gets 10% of what's within their city limits. So when I was mayor of Lone Tree, you know, we basically used up our entire debt capacity to put in a new wastewater treatment facility. Now, that's very important. We've just been talking about clean water, but there just isn't that ability to access capital and credit that the county has. And so next Monday, I'm meeting with our planning director to talk about a new initiative where the county uses some of our borrowing authority to work in partnership with the smaller cities in Johnson County in order to build starter houses. Because a lot of what gets built in Johnson County is either high-end student housing, which I'll return to in a moment, or it's, you know, pretty posh single family stuff that is nowhere near a starting house, that does nothing to address our workforce crisis. On the shitty landlord thing, the legislature just keeps kicking us in the guts on this. And also, you know, I want to respect the fact that Iowa City has their own council, and I appreciate the work that they're doing. But just last year, actually, it was in June of 24, but we just signed the paperwork on it last month. Johnson County purchased a 15-unit apartment complex in the city of Iowa City, and we just turned it over to the city of Iowa City. And that's going to be used for VA VASH housing vouchers to ensure that vets have affordable housing, subsidized housing. It's basically the equivalent of Section 8, except limited to vets. It is a tremendous thing. To the best of my knowledge, nobody else in the state at the county level is making these sorts of investments into affordable housing. And we have also, because counties are responsible for doing general assistance, that is in the Iowa Code, it's been there since the 19th century. I don't think we're generous with general assistance, but we provide much more general assistance, which is rental assistance, foreclosure, diversion and that sort of thing than I think anybody else in the state. And we're going to continue those investments. And anytime that we can make county investments, multi-million-dollar county investments into additional affordable housing, that is the carrot that we can use to ensure good performance from these shitty landlords. One of the most breathtaking moments for me after I originally got elected is I was sitting in a meeting with another supervisor and the county head of our social services department. And the department head was talking about how these landlords are such bad actors and looking for any opportunity to profit take while stepping on somebody's neck. And my fellow supervisor, a Democrat right here in Johnson County, was taken aback that landlords are not always good people. I think it's also important just to have supervisors who have been renters, who understand that the profit motive poisons everything and do not walk into every conversation with developers and landlords thinking that these folks are salt of the earth, understanding that in many cases they're predatory and you got to keep sharp, close look on them.
Mitch, do we have time for our second question?
No. So I'm sorry, John, but you've done very well. I mean, you're very detailed, and I wanted to thank you for that. But also, I wanted to give you time to close it up, give you like a minute and a half to close it up, and then I'll take about 60 seconds to close it up on my end.
Thanks, Mitch. Thanks, Patrick. I appreciate the opportunity, and I appreciate the flexibility after we got our wires crossed, Mitch, about the timing tonight. I think everybody understands that we are on the edge of the knife, or if you want a little bit nicer euphemism, we're Wile E. Coyote. We've already gone out over the cliff and we're just waiting for gravity to attain. We have some very challenging days ahead of us. And I hope that the service that I have given over the past 5 years has shown that I'm well positioned to provide the leadership, the ingenuity, the grit to meet the moment. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be pleasant, but I think we are well positioned to find our own path if a good way does not otherwise reveal itself. And so I thank you for the opportunity tonight, folks.